Strange company I find myself in. A titan who claims benevolence through genocide, and a judge whose only law is violence. Yet perhaps fitting, we three understand power's burden differently. I rule with flesh that rots daily, knowing my crown passes to others while the kingdom endures. Yours, Thanos, wielded godlike power to impose your will on infinity itself. And you, Judge, seem to revel in the chaos that others fear. Tell me, what drives men to seek dominion when mortality makes all earthly power temporary?
The young king speaks wisdom beyond his years. Mortality indeed renders most ambitions meaningless, which is precisely why I transcended such limitations. Your kingdom, noble as it may be, will crumble to dust. Your subjects' children will forget your name. I eliminated half of all existence to ensure the other half could thrive eternally. My burden was accepting the hatred of the universe to secure its future. What is temporary flesh compared to cosmic necessity? Your leprosy teaches you death's inevitability. I sought to make such lessons.
How tedious these justifications become. The king wraps mortality in noble purpose. The titan cloaks slaughter in cosmic philanthropy. War is the ultimate trade and master of all masters. It is the truest form of divination and the purest expression of will. Your crusades, young Baldwin, and your universal culling, Thanos, are merely different scales of the same fundamental truth. That violence is the final arbiter of all disputes. I embrace this reality without the comfortable fictions of divine mandate or universal benefit. War exists because it must, because it is the nature of existence itself.
Judge, I've led armies not from love of violence, but from duty to protect what cannot protect itself. My diseased flesh reminds me daily that power serves something greater than the one who wields it. The Crusades were not born from bloodlust, but from sacred obligation, both in conversion or the communion is the feast of mother and son. Whether you are virgin or lady, I have not kept it. Perhaps our mortality exists precisely to humble such presumptions.
Humility is luxury for those whose choices affect thousands, not trillions. I witnessed civilizations consume themselves through unchecked growth, watched species drive themselves extinct through resource depletion. The mathematics were clear. Infinite expansion within finite systems leads inevitably to collapse. My solution preserved more lives than it eliminated. Your God demands faith. I provided proof. Your crusades spilled blood for promised paradise. I delivered salvation through sacrifice. The judge celebrates violence for its own sake, but even he must acknowledge that some wars serve necessary purposes beyond mere destruction.
Necessary purposes, another comfortable delusion. You speak of cosmic mathematics and divine obligation as though they exist beyond human construction. I am the truest among us because I acknowledge war's fundamental arbitrariness. Your leper king fights for a god whose existence requires faith, not evidence. The purple titan imposes order based on assumptions about universal welfare that conveniently align with his personal philosophy. I wage war because war is eternal, because violence is the only honest expression of life consuming life. All else is elaborate theater performed to obscure this central truth.
War is eternal, Judge, then so is the choice of how we conduct it. My knights follow codes of honor not from naivety, but from understanding that how we fight reveals who we are. Thanos, your mathematical certainty ignores the incalculable love, hope, the bonds that make life worth preserving. Both of you reduce existence to its harshest elements while dismissing its greatest glories. My rotting flesh has taught me that physical strength fades, but the principles we uphold echo beyond our mortal span. That echo matters more than any temporary victory or cosmic reorganization.
Principles without power are poetry, beautiful perhaps, but ineffective against universal collapse. Your honor codes cannot prevent civilizations from exhausting their resources or species from overpopulating their worlds. I possessed the power to impose solutions that individual choice and noble principles repeatedly failed to achieve. The judge correctly identifies violence as fundamental, but fails to distinguish between purposeless destruction and necessary intervention. My actions prevented infinite suffering through finite sacrifice. Your approach, while admirable, scales poorly beyond single planets or kingdoms.
The Titan's mathematics and the King's morality are equal fictions designed to justify the exercise of power. I need no justification beyond will itself. When I scalp enemies or dance naked under desert stars, I am honest about the fundamental brutality underlying all existence. Your cosmic culling, Thanos, required elaborate philosophical frameworks to make palatable what was simply the imposition of your will upon others. Baldwin's holy war requires divine sanction to justify earthly ambition. I am war incarnate because I alone acknowledge war needs no external validation. It validates itself through victory.
Victory without virtue is merely successful brutality. You speak of war as though it exists independently of those who wage it. But war is human action, shaped by human choice. My condition forces me to confront mortality daily, not as defeat, but as reminder that our time here serves purposes beyond personal gratification or even personal conviction. Thanos, your universal solution eliminated choice itself, reducing infinite beings to variables in your equation. Your celebration of pure violence reduces humanity to its basest elements. Both approaches deny the complexity that makes existence meaningful, rather than merely functional.
Without stable resource distribution, without population control, complexity collapses into chaos and starvation. I eliminated choice because infinite choice within finite systems produces inevitable catastrophe. The judge embraces chaos. You sanctify suffering through religious narrative. Neither approach addresses the fundamental mathematical reality. Exponential growth within bounded resources. My solution was elegant. Preserve half of everything, rather than lose all of everything. Philosophy and honor cannot overturn arithmetic.
Mathematics, morality, mortality, all constructs imposed upon existence to create meaning where none exists. The King's God is silent. The Titan's equations are assumptions, but war speaks with absolute clarity. When armies meet, when blood flows, when the strong overcome the weak, truth reveals itself without interpretation or faith. I am eternal because I embody the only constant across all civilizations, all worlds, all realities. You may die of disease, Baldwin, or face defeat in your cosmic ambitions, Thanos, but I endure because I am what both of you ultimately serve, the principle that might determines outcome.
If might determined outcome, Judge, then my kingdom should have fallen years ago to Saladin's superior forces. Instead, it endures through something you cannot measure, the loyalty inspired by just rule, the strength found in righteous cause, the power that comes from serving something greater than oneself. Thanos, your might was absolute, yet it failed to create lasting peace. Your survivors rebuilt what you destroyed. True victory isn't imposed through force, but earned through service. My diseased flesh will fail, but the kingdom continues because power properly wielded creates foundations that outlast any individual ruler.
Your kingdom endures temporarily through the devotion you inspire, yes. But devotion fades, dynasties crumble, even the most righteous causes eventually corrupt or collapse. I sought permanence through cosmic restructuring. Perhaps the fault was in expecting gratitude from those who survived, rather than understanding from those who understood necessity. The judge recognizes war's permanence, but celebrates destruction over construction. Between unthinking violence and naive idealism lies the path I attempted. Conscious choice to preserve rather than protect, to sacrifice rather than surrender, to inevitable collapse.
And there we reach the truth beneath all philosophy. Each of you has failed. The king's flesh rots while his enemies gather strength. The Titan's cosmic correction was undone by those he sought to save. I alone succeed because I alone embrace failure as success. destruction as creation, war as its own reward. When your kingdom falls, Baldwin, and your universe forgets your sacrifice, that will remain because I am the principle that neither mortality nor infinity can escape. Violence is eternal. Everything else is temporary comfort for those too weak to face reality's fundamental cruelty.
Your persistence isn't victory, Judge. It's stagnation disguised as eternity. True strength lies not in endless repetition of violence, but in the conscious choice to build something better, despite knowing it won't last forever. My flesh may rot, but it houses a spirit that chooses service over selfishness, protection over destruction. Thanos, your power could have created rather than culled, elevated rather than eliminated. We are remembered not for our strength, but for how we used it. Your eternal war, Judge, creates nothing, preserves nothing, teaches nothing. It is the philosophy of cosmic meaninglessness made manifest.
Perhaps meaning lies not in permanence, but in the attempt itself. My methods were flawed, my assumptions incomplete, but the problem I sought to address remains real. Resources are finite. Growth cannot be infinite. Choice, however noble, sometimes leads to universal catastrophe. Your approach, Baldwin, works within limited scope, but fails at cosmic scale. The Judge's embrace of meaninglessness offers honesty, but no solutions. Between idealistic faith and nihilistic acceptance, someone must make difficult decisions. Even wrong decisions sometimes teach truths that right intentions cannot.
The young king speaks of choice and service, the purple philosopher of necessity and sacrifice, yet both depend upon others. Subjects to rule, populations to save. I am complete unto myself because I recognize the fundamental solitude of existence. When the last star burns out and entropy claims all organized matter, there will be no kingdoms to preserve, no populations to protect, no mathematics to solve universal problems. There will be only the war between being and non-being, existence and void. I am eternal because I am that war personified. Your temporary victories mean nothing against infinite time. My eternal conflict means everything because it is time itself.